Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Jill Foster. I'm Regional Director of Catholic Social Action for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. It is my pleasure to be with you today, and it is my pleasure to introduce a special guest that we have with us. This is Tom Hollywood, and he works with Catholic Relief Services, or CRS. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do with CRS, how you got into CRS, what pulls you towards it, and everything?
Sure. First, Jill, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's a privilege to be among all of you in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. And I'm really looking forward to see how we can develop a stronger partnership with a lot of common work. I am currently the partnership and campaign advisor for Catholic Relief Services. So I have the opportunity to work with our constituents at high schools, colleges, and universities and parishes all throughout the United States to invite them into a lot of different opportunities, a lot of actions, and a lot of direct impact that they can have on the global poor.
Awesome. And we're so happy to have you here in Cincinnati. You've already spoken a couple of times. We have a few more things today and tomorrow and Friday as well. I myself was a Catholic Relief Services student ambassador when I was in college, so I love Catholic Relief Services. How did you first hear about CRS and how did it pull you or draw you?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I also feel very fortunate that I've always worked for the Catholic Church in my professional career. So after I left my undergraduate school, I went and became a lay missioner, a volunteer with Cabrini Mission Corps, and I was with them in Argentina for 2.5 years. And then when I came back, I was trying to figure out what was next. And I wasn't quite ready to make that leap or that step to join CRS. So I started working for the Sisters of the Good Shepherd, and I was the international program coordinator for their volunteer groups that they would send to Peru, Paraguay, and Mexico. And then once after I got my graduate degree, I had a friend, a colleague who I had met when I was a volunteer in Argentina, who really nudged me along saying, I think it's time for you to consider CRS. And so I applied to CRS's fellowship program in 2006. And that's a program that grooms management, looking at the future leaders, directors for the agency. So I was lucky enough to have been accepted into that program, and that's how I began my career with CRS. And my first placement was in Peru.
How long were you in Peru?
I was in Peru for about 8 months. When I arrived, the earthquake had just struck a southern portion of the country in 2007. So I was tasked with responding and being a part of a team there that was working on some relief and recovery efforts. And then I was also doing some other livelihood work, helping out rural farmers along the Andes Mountains in Peru as well. So I had a great combination of both relief, which is responding to those types of natural disasters, and then also development work, working on problems that are very much entrenched and deep rooted in different societies throughout the world.
And I'm guessing from your time in Argentina, you said,
Yes.
you had already learned Spanish.
Yes. So I graduated from Stonehill College in Massachusetts with a double major in international relations and Spanish. But my Spanish was okay. So when I went to Argentina, I felt like I had a good understanding. But yes, being immersed, just as you were, Jill, in Haiti, that is where my language proficiency really took off. Having to speak Spanish was a non-negotiable, right? It was every day, all day long, carrying around my dictionary when we used to have those, writing down words I didn't understand, practicing, and then eventually I got to the point where I started dreaming in Spanish. So, yeah, that was one of the gifts that I received from my time in Argentina, and I remain very grateful for that.
And you said you were in Peru. Where did you go next? Because I know you spent more time in Latin America and you spent some time in Africa as
Yeah.
well.
So then after Peru, I was asked to go to Malawi. And Malawi is in southeastern Africa. It's a sliver of a country, landlocked. It's bordered by Tanzania to the north, Zambia to the west, Mozambique to the east and to the south. Unfortunately, it's one of the five poorest countries on our planet. And there I was working on mostly food security programming, so addressing issues around hunger, malnutrition. But then also too, I got involved in education programming and justice and peace, where we were working on different issues related to extractives in the northern part of the country. And I was there for almost 4 years.
4 years. Did you learn any of the language when you were there? 'Cause you had Spanish.
Yeah, I had Spanish. So when I got there, I learned a little bit of Chichewa, which is the primary indigenous language. And what I would try to do, I didn't have the time to really take a deep dive into the language and really devote enough time to master it, but I was able to speak some of the greetings, some of the initial pleasantries, just to kind of begin conversations with Malawians that I would interact with.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I spent a couple of months in Malawi, and it is one of the poorest countries in the world. But a beautiful country. And one thing that's really great about it too, it's relatively peaceful. The people are very friendly and kind and very welcoming.
Yeah.
At least that was my sense when I went.
Absolutely. Malawi's tagline or its logo, and it likes to promote this, is the warm heart of Africa. It's very friendly, very open, hospitable. You're always met with a smile. So that certainly is one of the positive characteristics of attributes of Malawi.
I heard one of the only conflicts is that the North and the South argue with each other about who's nicer.
No.
When I went in, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Where were you in Malawi?
I was up north.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Karonga.
Okay, yes. Yeah, you did tell me that. You did tell me that. Yeah, Karonga. I was up in Karonga. We had a very large orphan and vulnerable children program responding to some of the impacts of HIV/AIDS.
Okay.
So we did a lot of early childhood development in northern Malawi, and I was able to go there because we were doing some extractive advocacy work in that same area. So that's great. That's right. Yeah, Karonga is a very special, unique place.
Yes, yes. I was there for 2 months doing research on how climate change and environmental degradation have affected the lives of people up in that northern district. So I had a great time.
Yeah. Did you swim in the lake?
I walked in the lake.
Okay.
Did I bring my bathing suit? I think I did.
Yeah.
I did swim in the lake. I was right on the lake. Beautiful, beautiful Lake Malawi. It's gorgeous.
I think it's still, I think my stat is correct when I say it's the third largest freshwater body. Yeah, I think it is. I think, no, in the world.
In the world?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Even bigger than the Great Lakes?
Yes.
Or after the Great
I
Lakes?
think it's bigger than the Great Lakes. One of them. I'll have to look that up. But it's a very large lake.
Yes. Freshwater too.
Freshwater.
Freshwater. Great. Well, now that we know a little bit about you, can you tell us a little bit about CRS and
Sure.
yeah, just its history, how did it come about?
Sure. So history, CRS was founded during World War II in 1943, to be precise, where the U.S. Catholic bishops were very concerned with the impact of refugees. Obviously, with war and conflict, one of its main consequences is the displacement of populations, communities. So, motivated by that fact, that reality, the U.S. bishops started Catholic Relief Services, which was called War Relief initially. And so the genesis of Catholic Relief Services has always been responding to acute emergencies, crises, humanitarian situations that require interventions. So that's what we've been doing since 1943, both man-made, so these can be disasters that derive from war, conflict, genocide, dictatorship, whatever sort of human factor might be driving that conflict, but then also natural disasters as well. So these can be earthquakes, landslides, typhoons, cyclones, anything that you might hear on the news. CRS is ready and willing to respond. Over the years and quickly after it was born, we also brought on a lot of development work. And development work is a little different than relief. Development work is a little bit to what I was doing in Malawi, where we were addressing more that latent, slow-moving problem. It's more chronic, it's more entrenched, stubborn. So it's food security, malnutrition, water, sanitation, hygiene, gender issues, youth, environmental, natural resource management. So a lot of those are other dimensions of our work. And a lot of countries too have that intersection of where you have relief work, but then also development work going on at the same time, depending on the particular context of those countries.
And it's great to see how much CRS has developed since its conception. I know I was a marine lay missioner. When I went to Haiti, we learned the history about missionaries and everything. And so missionaries first went abroad to evangelize, and they started really leaning in towards charity and helping the poor orphans of China or something, until it really became, this idea of, I feel like that's infantilizing people of like, how can we actually help them grow, not just giving and doing this, but how can we help people grow and develop? And I think that's kind of similar to CRS's story, not necessarily with the evangelization part, but of like, you responded to the emergencies and the needs of the people, but then you wanted to expand so that you can help people help themselves.
Yeah, Joe, that's a great summary. And the word that I would like to use to describe that in our approach is around authenticity.
Mm.
So after Malawi, I then was stationed in Sudan. And if you know anything about Sudan, it's been plagued by immense amount of war, conflict, violence, ever since colonial rule under the British, but certainly now over the last 1 or 2 years, as we've seen on the news. And the authenticity in a situation of Sudan is where you are reaching out to have those right relationships, to start to develop the trust and credibility. A very Muslim country, so at times you would think that there would be a lot of animosity or opposition or being at odds. But I would say to this day, it's probably the most hospitable, most warm, most welcoming country that I've ever worked. The staff that were there, my teammates, were just amazing individuals, and it was such a gift. And I think what you're saying is true. It wasn't about saying that you have to be Catholic, but they knew that us being outsiders, we were there because we represented Catholic Relief Services, the tenets of Catholic social teaching, and because CRS is a Catholic organization, they understood the values and what we were bringing, and was really there to be authentic to solidarity, rights and responsibility, the common good, option for the poor, all of those wonderful attributes that the Catholic Church can offer through Catholic Relief Services really is embodied in our work. And it offers that layer of quality that really, I think, makes CRS quite unique.
Yeah. How long were you in Sudan?
3 years.
3 years. Can you tell me a little bit about, what your day-to-day might have looked like in Sudan, the types of people that you met when you were there, if you have any stories from them?
Yeah, so my day-to-day was I was based in Khartoum. So we had an office there. So it was an office that was very active, vibrant, lots of work going on. Sudanese from all different walks of life. And then we had different international staff from Pakistan, from Ghana, from Liberia. Really, I always felt like the CRS offices and the country programs, as we call them, where we work, really represent the kaleidoscope of what the world is today. So that was always fascinating to walk into the office and have these different conversations and develop these work relationships with people from literally all over the world. But then also too, I would go out very frequently to Darfur. Sometimes that was a long helicopter ride or a quick airplane ride, and then work in some of our project sites. Sometimes it would be in a camp, an IDP, which is an internally displaced camp. Sometimes it would be out with some of the farmers. Sometimes it would be in our satellite office. Sometimes it would be some of our partners including the United Nations and the World Food Program. So I would get out and try and be among them as much as we could. And it was just such a remarkable experience because it was really addressing some of the traumatic issues of the time as we were in that period trying to recover from the genocide that had occurred in the mid 2000s.
And so, well, thank you for sharing. I love hearing about I love hearing about other countries and learning about cultures, and the work of CRS I think is amazing. But other people might be thinking, this is on the other side of the world, or on the other southern half of the hemisphere that you were working in. Why is CRS important today? Why is it important to us?
Yeah, I think one of the fundamental principles or tenets of Catholicism is this idea of a global family, right? Is that if we all believe that our humanity is interconnected, that the moral imperative, right? We are compelled, our religion, our faith, our traditions compel us, demand that we reach out and be a part of this global family. And when a section of our global family is suffering, and there is tremendous need, we have to respond. That is our calling. That is our vocation, is to rise to the needs and be a part of the solution. And it's not about doing the work for them, it's about doing the work with them. Not only do we believe in authenticity, but it's about accompaniment. And more, the journey can be long and arduous, but CRS is willing to make that commitment to see things through the end. So I would really answer that question wrapped around the idea of a global family.
And as Catholics, I mean, we believe in this, we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. All people have the right to life and human dignity. And that's kind of like the first and foremost idea of, what our faith believes, what Christ has taught us.
Yeah. That's a great point about the human dignity. We have a particular framework that we call on quite often. It's called integral human development. And at the very center of that is the individual. And when we talk about maximizing or reaching human potential, for us, one of those indicators is human dignity. Is that person living a dignified life? Are they in a situation where they feel dignified? They feel valued, they feel respected. So for us, having that achievement is super fulfilling, right? But it's even more so to know that that individual feels as though that their aspirations to be human, being a part of the global family, are also being accomplished.
Absolutely. Is there any particular place or location, story that you have that I think, is really relevant to the impact of CRS, or really relevant to what they've done, what you've done with CRS that really impacted you?
I mean, there's so many stories, and I think about my time, the 15 years that I was, almost 15 years that I was overseas with CRS, and the journey, just the fantastic relationships. So after I left Sudan, I then went back to Latin America, and I was fortunate to be a sub-regional director, or we called it the zonal head for South America, right? For 8 countries in South America. And I was able to interface with so many different cultures. I think sometimes we might think that South America is just all the same, but it's extremely diverse from culture, traditions, norms, language. And within that, I was working with our teams on a variety of different issues. And maybe 2 stories that really stand out are the refugees that were fleeing from both the Colombian Civil War and then also the Venezuelan economic crisis. One of the most common threads, or one of the most frequently used messages as they would respond to questions about why they were there, was related to they needed to be there, right? They needed to be in Ecuador because they were escaping violence. They could not stay in their home community. So they wanted to go back, but they just reiterated, I need to be here. I have to be here for myself, but more importantly for my family so that they can live another day. So that really struck me very hard. And then also too, we had a very interesting coffee project in Southern Colombia and Northern Ecuador. And a lot of the authenticity and the accompaniment really then leads into having local leadership and local decision making about their futures. So when I think about the global family and that fulfillment of human dignity, another sign of that is someone to say, this is what I want to do with my life. I can make better choices. So in Colombia, we worked with thousands of Colombian coffee farmers who were improving their crop to a certain point where coffee roasters in the United States were very interested and wanted to purchase their coffee from their, we call them little micro lots in this very rich, fertile area of Southern Colombia called Nariño. And these improvements allowed farmers to decide, what am I going to grow on my humble plot of land? And at times it was between coca, right, which is the main ingredient for cocaine, or coffee. So they themselves then could decide, I want that dignified life. I want to offer my child that safety, that security. So that was also very compelling and just very moving, the testimonials and to hear those stories from those farmers that saying, now that I know how to grow better coffee and I have these connections with a coffee market, I now have improved income and I can make choices that are more rooted in dignity.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for us? How can we here in the United States, help CRS and what they're doing and supporting, CRS and the folks that they work with abroad?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, if anything, right now CRS is urgently asking for advocacy actions around what is occurring with the United States Agency for International Development with USAID, where we need to tell Congress, our senators, our House of Representatives, that foreign assistance needs to continue. It's not only helping us address these moral imperatives globally, but it also helps the United States with leadership and projecting its status and showing its skills and expertise all over the globe. So we have to unfreeze this pause. We need the work to continue. We need to have the ongoing results continue. And we would ask that all of those that are moved, motivated, inspired by the work of Catholic Relief Services to join us, to be a part of our campaign, our network, to make calls, to send text messages, to send emails to our senators and members of Congress and say, allow foreign assistance to continue.
Yeah, and that's something that we discussed in depth. I was in a conference a week or two ago, and this was happening. This stop work orders were happening, and everyone was like, "What do we do?" And we had a chance to advocate on the Hill with our representatives, to be like, "This is super important." And I mean, since then too, things have gotten worse, and so I mean, USAID is a large percentage of CRS's budget, right?
Correct.
How much?
Roughly 2/3.
2/3?
Yeah, about 65%.
65%. And how much is foreign assistance in the annual federal budget?
It's less than 1%. If you want to drill down on that a little bit more, when we think of the United States economy and in terms of our gross national income, how much income is generated in the United States from our economic activity. With that amount, foreign assistance only occupies 0.2% of that entire amount. So Unfortunately, it's very meager, it's limited, those resources, but what we do, what can be done with those resources is immense.
Yes, absolutely. How much you can do with so little is incredible. And the amount of energy that people work for it too. No one's making bank off of
No.
this money.
Oh, I mean, CRS, we are a nonprofit, so that means that all the money that we receive goes directly into our programs. There's no turning a profit in our work.
Yeah.
It's all trying to be as effective and as efficient
Yeah.
with our funding to make sure that the more than 200 million that we serve globally receive and are part of those benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people might be familiar with something that happens during Lent. To talk about another CRS program is CRS Rice Bowl.
Correct.
And this year's the 50th anniversary of CRS Rice Bowl.
It is.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
I sure can.
that program?
Rice Bowl is our flagship program in the United States to connect U.S. Catholics to make that bridge between local and global interests around alleviating poverty. So you might be familiar with the little cardboard boxes, putting in pennies and nickels and dimes and all those sorts of coins. And that's a great activity. I also encourage parishes and high schools and college universities, even workplaces to take on not only the cardboard box, but to go to our website, which is crsricebowl.org, crsricebowl.org, because there are a lot of different resources and materials to become very familiar with our work. Every year during Lent, we spotlight one country from Latin America, one country from Africa, and one country from Asia. And you get to take a deep dive into those contexts, those realities. One little fun activity is the meatless recipes that we have from each one of those countries. So we know a lot of families use that recipe for their meatless Friday meals. And then we also have different resources for each grade level. Whether it's high school, middle school, elementary school children, a lot of students can benefit from what we have on our website. So I encourage everyone that's watching or listening to participate in Rice Bowl this year to learn more about our work. And then also, I know, Jill, you can speak to this a little bit better, but a portion of what is raised through Rice Bowl and that community giving stays within the Archdiocese of Cincinnati.
Yes, it does. I think with Rice Bowl, CRS has very much, said we really want Rice Bowl to also help people in the United States, those who are hungry and need those services. And so 25% of Rice Bowl stays in the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, in whatever diocese that you might be in, if it's not ours. And for us, we do a bunch of local grants. And so we send out an application and we give out small local grants to different organizations. So we've worked with community gardens, St. Vincent de Paul, food pantries, lots of other places during our time, doing this Rice Bowl and doing the local grants. And so again, you can hop on crsricebowl.org. You can get a lot of materials. And on our Archdiocesan page for CRS, you can find links to the application. It's not up yet, but it will be going up soon. If you're part of an organization and you'd like to see about getting a small grant to help support the wonderful work that you do here for the people in this region of the world. Yeah. So we talked about a little bit about Rice Bowl. We talked a little bit about, the stop work orders. Can you tell us what's really your call to action, and how can we get involved? What are our next steps? What can we do to be more involved?
Yeah, I think the most concrete step that I would recommend is anyone that's listening or watching with your cell phone, if you were to text 67768. So 67768. And at that number, if you were to send in the word advocate, so that's 67768 advocate, you will then get an immediate response from CRS with a link that explains this action alert so that we can unfreeze the global work stop order that has paused all of our work overseas related to federal foreign assistance. So that is what we are urgently calling out among all of our constituents across the country. We have some upcoming events that we can possibly also post if that's an opportunity with the Archdiocesan website, where we have a national call coming up. We have some different webinars and seminars to learn a little bit about what's occurring in Washington and how it's making a direct impact on what we want to achieve. So that would be my most salient point related to what we can do right now.
And if you don't want to do it alone, there's something called CRS chapters as well. Do you know much about the program?
Absolutely. So in addition to this immediate work around advocacy and being a part of these campaigns, we invite all high schools, colleges, universities, and parishes to consider becoming a permanent member with CRS, to be a partner, to be an ongoing collaborator with our work. At high schools, we form what we call clubs. And many times at high schools, we are building off, layering what high schools are already doing. We see high schools around the country adding clubs to their key clubs or to their National Honor Society or some social justice committee or group that they might have on campus, some outreach community service group that is serving a marginalized community. So we have a lot of resources and materials to enhance that work, but then also to strengthen what we've been talking about a lot as a core theme, that local to global connection. And we do the same thing as well with colleges, universities, campus ministries. We have a lot of professors in political science or international studies that rally around our work because of the advocacy aspect, but then also the materials, some of the technical resources, learning about different regions in our country and making those connections to the global family. And then also the extension continues on with parishes, chapters in parishes where we see a lot of motivated parishioners that want to be engaged civically, feel called to help those beyond our borders, recognize there's a lot more similarities than there are differences, and really want to have that impact in their lives. So we call on priests, clergy, lay, professors, all different walks of life to really consider being a club member or a chapter member.
And if you want more information on chapters in Cincinnati, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Jill Foster. My email is on the catholicaoc.org website under the Catholic Social Action Office, or you can type in jfoster@catholicaoc.org. Feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions about CRS, about the number that you need to text, about advocacy opportunities, about getting together with people who are also passionate about CRS, let me know and I can help you and connect you and you can connect with me and I can connect with you, and that would be great, and connect with Tom as well. Do you have any other messages or any other thoughts that you would like to leave people with?
I hope that what resonates, or maybe what is sticking here as a key point, is that what I've been trying to lay out is an invitation. It's an invitation for all of you to become a part of Catholic Relief Services. Whether you're sending in that text message to that number, whether you're looking at some of our campaigns on our work, whether you're participating in Rice Bowl during this upcoming Lenten season, or if you're looking for that more ongoing relationship through a club or chapter, it's all there for the taking. We would really enjoy your partnership. We would like you to know more. We would like you to be more engaged so that you can continue to walk with us in a way that has real, tangible impacts on all of those that we serve overseas. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you, Jill, for hosting. Appreciate your interest, and I look forward to the next steps.
Thank you so much, Tom. It was so great having you, and we have a lot more to do today and tomorrow and the rest of the week, so I'm looking forward to spending time with you. And thank you all for tuning in and listening or watching, depending on how this goes out. And we hope to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. God bless.
Bye.